Welcome to NTD Newsroom. I'm Don Ma. President Trump is set to attend the World Economic Forum at Davos this week with the largest U.S. delegation ever. The issues the president is expected to address. The federal government is investigating after anti-ICE protesters disrupt worship at a church in Minnesota. Plus, the mayor of Minneapolis responds to reports President Trump is mobilizing the military to aid in immigration enforcement. The Trump administration is investigating race-based housing programs in Minneapolis. It comes amid the onset of several other investigations into alleged fraud in taxpayer-funded programs. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent calls Greenland essential to U.S. security as President Trump threatens new tariffs and European leaders push back. Parts of Florida see snow for the second year in a row. An Arctic blast is hitting much of the country, sending temperatures plummeting this week.
This is NTD Newsroom, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today. Business and political elites are heading to the World Economic Forum's annual meeting in Davos, Switzerland this week. President Trump is also set to appear there. Trump will be bringing with him the largest U.S. delegation ever. It includes the Secretaries of State, Treasury, Commerce, and Energy. And topping the agenda is finding a solution to the conflicts in Gaza and Ukraine.
President Trump will also have discussions with European leaders. There will also be 400 other political leaders. So we do hope for a dialogue and also finding a path forward on Gaza, on Ukraine, but also how we can enhance collaboration even in this very complicated world.
Other topics of discussion include the possibility of China invading Taiwan and tensions in the Middle East as the protests in Iran continue. Trump is also expected to address his economic policy. The CEO of the World Economic Forum says that Trump's presence highlights the importance of cooperation between the private sector and countries which have become more and more indebted. Meanwhile, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is already in Davos, Switzerland today for the World Economic Forum. He told reporters what President Trump will be talking about during the annual meeting.
I think the message is America first does not mean America alone. And I think President Trump will be talking about this is what American leadership in the world looks like. The U.S. will be hosting the G20 next year. And I can tell you in the finance track, we are going to identify the lack of growth as the greatest threat to financial stability. So we are going to be pushing for growth, for deregulation.
The Treasury Secretary said Trump will be in Davos this Wednesday and Thursday to sum up the first year of his second term. Bessent said the president will also talk about his thoughts on the economy going forward. Bessent added that the U.S. economy is doing quite well and the Trump administration expects it to accelerate this year. The World Economic Forum's closed-door talks and high-profile panel sessions will run until this Friday. Organizers say this year's meeting is among the most senior gatherings in the forum's history. Besides Trump, there will also be close to 65 heads of state and government, as well as nearly 850 CEOs and chairs. Federal investigations into Minnesota are expanding. Now, the Trump administration is investigating race-based housing programs in Minneapolis, and it comes amid the onset of several other investigations into alleged fraud and taxpayer-funded programs. NTD's Melina Weisskopf has more.
Minnesota State Governor is under the microscope. The Trump administration is investigating whether the race-based housing programs in Minneapolis violate the Civil Rights Act. HUD officials are taking issue with the Minneapolis 2040 plan, which aims to prioritize housing resources to people of color, indigenous people, and/or immigrants. Secretary of Housing and Urban Development Scott Turner accused the mayor of racial favoritism. In a letter to the city's mayor, he wrote, "Specifically, Minneapolis has committed to making available and allocating housing resources based on race and nationality. This is in addition to the alleged wasted taxpayer dollars meant for housing programs."
Through our fraud prevention, we have found that there is likely over $84 million in eligible assistance that was given to the state of Minnesota during the Biden administration, including almost $500,000 in improper assistance to over 500 dead tenants. And so you think about that.
Governor Walz and Mayor Frey have not yet responded to the investigation. The HUD crackdown comes amid several other investigations into Minnesota programs. Independent journalist Nick Shirley continues to travel around in an attempt to expose fraudulent daycares.
It's Hopkins Child Care Center. They're receiving over $2 million a year. Where are the children? No footprints of any children around here. No footprints of any children. They can't even answer the question.
Medicaid and Medicare funds to the state also under scrutiny. The CMS director, Dr. Mehmet Oz, told American thought leaders Jan Jekielek the fraud could in fact run deep into our political dynamics.
This might be part of a much larger scheme to change how we elect our officials, and that's very chilling for us. What we're seeing in Minnesota is the tip of the iceberg because it is dwarfed by what I saw in California, which is whole-scale cultural malfeasance around healthcare. There is a
Oz said he believes foreign-based gangs are perpetuating fraud in hospice and home health care programs. California is one of the 5 states where the Trump administration has frozen federal funding for social net programs while it investigates alleged fraud. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Melina Weisskopf, NTD News.
A federal investigation is underway after anti-ICE protesters stormed a church in St. Paul, Minnesota. The incident took place yesterday during worship at the Baptist Church. Here's the story.
This Sunday morning at City's Church in St. Paul, Minnesota was not like any other. During worship, a group of protesters stormed the Baptist Church chanting "Justice for Renee Good" in reference to the woman fatally shot by an ICE agent in Minneapolis after she drove her car into him. In a video circulating online, the protesters said they targeted the church because of allegations one of its pastors was connected to ICE. The pastor in question is David Easterwood, which is the same name listed as acting director of the ICE field office in St. Paul. NTD reached out to ICE to verify whether these are the same individual. ICE shared a video of the protest from the Center for Baptist Leadership saying, "Agitators aren't just targeting our officers, now they're targeting churches too." In a post on X, Attorney General Pam Bondi said yesterday the Department of Justice is investigating the incident. Assistant Attorney General Harmeet Dillon, who leads the DOJ's Civil Rights Division, said her department is looking at potential violations. She said the protesters were desecrating a house of worship and interfering with Christian worshipers. The incident comes as tensions over immigration enforcement in Minnesota rise. Speaking to Fox News Sunday, Acting ICE Director Todd Lyons once again warned elected officials not to spread rhetoric that could put agents in danger.
So we started seeing this back in April, and I sent up the flare and started asking, elected officials not to stoke such dangerous rhetoric about ICE. And now exactly, you are seeing exactly what you just said. You've seen attacks on ICE officers and our other federal partners for only going out there and doing their law enforcement mission.
As protests, sometimes violent, grow, Reuters reported yesterday the Pentagon has ordered 1,500 active-duty soldiers to prepare for a possible deployment to Minnesota. The outlet cited 2 officials, though the Pentagon hasn't made any statements itself. President Trump has previously said he could invoke the Insurrection Act to quell unrest, enabling the federal government to send in the U.S. military. The mayor of Minneapolis called the idea of sending in soldiers a, quote, ridiculous and unconstitutional idea. Mayor Jacob Frey said the city will not be intimidated.
This act was clearly designed to intimidate the people of Minneapolis, and here's the thing. We're not going to be intimidated. If the goal here is safety, we've got many mechanisms to achieve safety. And the best way to get safety is not to have an influx of even more agents, and in this case, military, in Minneapolis.
Meanwhile, Governor Tim Walz has mobilized the Minnesota National Guard. In a post on X Saturday, the Minnesota Department of Public Safety wrote, "The Guard troops are ready to help support public safety and the rights of all who assemble peacefully." The troops aren't deployed yet, but the state says they will wear bright yellow reflective vests to distinguish them from other agencies like ICE. The federal government continues to defend its immigration enforcement operations. In an interview with CBS Sunday, Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem said the vast majority of those arrested by ICE are convicted criminals or have criminal charges.
Every single individual has committed a crime, but 70% of them have committed or have charges against them on violent crimes.
In a video posted by ICE, an agent confronted by protesters in Minnesota says he and other agents are there to arrest a child sex offender.
We're here to arrest a child sex offender. And you guys are out here honking.
No, we're pressed.
That vehicle right there is honking and impeding our investigations while we're trying to arrest a child sex offender. That's who you guys are protecting.
Noem said the Trump administration is committed to arresting and deporting the worst of the worst from America's communities. In a post on X, Immigration and Customs Enforcement wrote, "We won't be deterred. ICE isn't going anywhere."
Joining us to discuss is Jonathan Houlihan, President and General Counsel of Remnant Law. So, Jonathan, good afternoon. The church's pastor said protesters refused to leave when asked. Was it within the demonstrators' free speech rights to protest inside the church and interrupt Sunday service?
Absolutely not. This is far outside First Amendment protected speech. This shocks the conscience, frankly. I mean, they're trespassers. They go in, they intentionally use force to force themselves through the church. They intimidate the pastor. This is not protected speech under any form or fashion. And I think the DOJ is well within its rights and should be investigating this. Not only those that went inside the church and intimidated the congregation and the pastor, but also the network. I mean, clearly this is a network, a conspiracy where these are organized. You've seen all these tactics across Minnesota and frankly, across the United States, where these aggressive tactics to quell other opinions, to stop and intimidate and coerce is nationwide. So this is, they have to stop this kind of bad behavior right now before it gets out of hand and spreads to other churches.
Okay, Jonathan, can you explain for us clearly what does the Constitution exactly protect when it comes to demonstrating, and what does it not protect in this context where places of worship are involved?
Well, I mean, typically a traditional public forum, a sidewalk, another place where you could protest. It's not private property. Although a church opens its doors to everyone, it's not a place to protest against the pastor and disrupt services. So it's not that protected forum that you'd see, even a limited traditional forum like in a school board meeting or whatnot, where folks are invited in to speak. This is beyond the bounds of protected speech, especially attempting to incite violence, to really disrupt the church services. It's far beyond the pale, and that's why those statutes exist. I mean, Congress passed the FACE Act, other statutes, conspiracy against rights, that recognizes that kind of behavior to intimidate, coerce, or use force is not protected speech under the First Amendment.
Okay, so you mentioned the FACE Act. Could you help us understand that? Because the DOJ's Civil Rights Division said it's investigating this or potential violations of the FACE Act. What is it exactly, and what does it mean for them?
So the FACE Act was originally a statute passed by Congress in 1994 that was meant for, as they call it, reproductive clinics, abortion clinics, to stop protesters from using force to intimidate those seeking to receive an abortion. It has been extended to religious places of worship. So under that same kind of foundation, the same framework, the DOJ is investigating this activity, going into a religious service and disrupting it. You know, the irony here is the last administration really aggressively pursued FACE Act criminal charges against those that were protesting. Many of those were on traditional public forums, as we discussed, sidewalks. They were on the private property. They weren't on the private property, but on the sidewalks. They were away from the doors, and they still got prosecuted. These individuals went inside the church, into the sermon, and disrupted the pastor, really caused an intimidation across the board. I mean, that's their goal. I think in a lot of these is to intimidate free speech, intimidate those that would stand for the rule of law. It's beyond the pale in this country that these individuals would go into church services and stop church services because in their mind, your opinion doesn't matter. the church service doesn't matter. It's only what they think that matters. And that's not what the First Amendment is about. It's supposed to have protections in place for everybody to foster their own ideas, their own religious services, the free exercise of religion, and to disrupt that is not protected speech. So that's what the FACE Act aims to stop from disruptions like this in the religious services, the free exercise thereof.
Okay, final thing. What do you think, what could the charges be here potentially?
Well, I think they would, just from watching the videos and what I've seen on open source, I think you've got FACE Act violations. So they clearly disrupted, they used force, they intimidated the church services during the religious service. So at a minimum, they could face a year for each FACE Act violation. But I really think to get to the heart of this, I think the investigation should expand the scope. And I touched on this a while ago, but really a conspiracy against rights. So who is funding this activity? Who is organizing? Who is the C2, the command and control, the money behind all this that are getting these folks to go into religious services? I've got clients around the country that have attended conducting journalistic activities, and they're getting whistles blown in their ear, really beyond what free speech allows. It's inciting violence. They're trying to run them off any kind of counter protest or free speech in traditional public forums. So I think at the end of the day, the heart of this, it needs to get to who is organizing this, follow the money, find out who is behind this, and go after the C2, the command and control element that is really organizing these protests in religious services, and also going after ICE officers at their homes. All of these things are not protected speech when they're blowing amplifiers and music past municipal ordinance, the codes that restricts that activity, which is perfectly lawful to restrict some of that loud noise late at night. All of those things are not protected speech. So they really need to go after the command and control networks to get to the heart of this and stop it.
Yeah, I think FBI investigator or FBI Director Kash Patel said recently that they're investigating these protests in Minnesota. Perhaps this one specifically falls within that scope as well. Well, all right, Jonathan, thank you for your analysis today.
Thanks, Don. Appreciate it.
Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent calls Greenland essential to U.S. security as President Trump threatens new tariffs and European leaders push back. More news after this break.
I'm Jonathan Lawson. If you're 50 to 85, please listen closely. The lock I want to talk to you about isn't the one on your door. It's a rate lock for your life insurance that guarantees that once you're insured, your rate can never go up at any time for any reason. Many policies you see don't have one, but you can get a lifetime rate lock from Colonial Penn. This plan was designed for people on a fixed income with coverage options that start at $9.95 a month. That's less than 35 cents a day. Your rate is locked in for life. Coverage can never be canceled, and your acceptance is guaranteed. You cannot be turned down because of your health. See for yourself. Call for an information kit and gift. Both are free with no obligation.
Call 1-800-624-6556 for your free information and your free gift. That's 1-800-624-6556. 1-800-624-6556. Call now.
I had a pretty normal mom life. Everything was pretty good, and it was a very happy life.
And we just had a new baby. And then all of a sudden, within a day or two, she's on life support and fighting for her life.
And I knew something was pretty wrong. A little less than a week after I came home, I couldn't breathe. That's when we decided to go to the hospital. I was given the diagnosis that I had peripartum cardiomyopathy, which is basically a pregnancy-induced heart failure. They told me my only chance was a heart transplant.
And the American Heart Association helped make that possible. Their research helped save me.
This could not happen without monthly donations from friends like you. Your sustained support helps fund life-saving research that leads to medical breakthroughs, like those that gave Jen a second chance at life. Heart disease is the #1 killer in America, and we urgently need your help to save lives. Go to helpheart.org or call now to become a monthly donor today. Your donation of only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, will make a difference through prevention, early detection, treatments, and cures that help save lives.
I am very thankful for the American Heart Association. I'm grateful for just every day that I get with my children.
Please go to helpheart.org or call now with your donation of just $19 a month. Join our community of monthly donors, and you'll get this limited edition t-shirt you can wear to show you're helping save lives.
One simple act today can save your life or the life of a loved one.
So please, call or go to helpheart.org now to help save lives.
Greenland continues to be a global focal point this week. Secretary of Treasury Scott Bessent called the island essential to national security in an interview yesterday. NTD's Daniel Monahan reports on that and the responses from European leaders after President Trump threatened new tariffs.
President Trump has continued to exert pressure on Europe in his quest to acquire Greenland. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent discusses why that is crucial, speaking on NBC's Meet the Press.
President Trump strongly believes that we cannot outsource our security because, Kristen, let me tell you what will happen, and it might not be next year, might not be in 5 years, but down the road, this fight for the Arctic is real.
Bessent says if there were an attack on Greenland from Russia or from some other area, the U.S. would get dragged in.
So better now, peace through strength, make it part of the United States, and there will not be a conflict because the United States right now, we are the hottest country in the world. We are the strongest country in the world. The Europeans project weakness. The U.S. projects strength.
President Trump wrote on Truth Social that NATO has been telling Denmark for 20 years to get the Russian threat away from Greenland. The president says world peace is at stake, arguing that China and Russia want Greenland and there's nothing Denmark can do about it. The president also criticized Danish defenses in Greenland, saying they amounted to having 2 dog sleds, with one being added recently. President Trump said on Saturday that he's planning to add a 10% tariff onto Denmark, Norway, Sweden, France, Germany, the UK, the Netherlands, and Finland, starting on February 1st. The levy would increase to 25% on June 1st, unless a deal is reached for the complete and total purchase of Greenland. European Union leaders held an emergency meeting yesterday over the tariff threat. EU Council President Antonio Costa said EU leaders have expressed readiness to defend themselves against any form of coercion. Costa is expected to convene a full summit of EU leaders later this week. Norway's foreign minister said they stand with the Kingdom of Denmark in defense of its sovereignty.
But we're also ready to do more together with America and with all our allies in the Arctic. And that's exactly why we are stepping up our presence in Greenland, because if there are security concerns, we can meet them jointly.
French President Emmanuel Macron called the tariffs unacceptable, saying no intimidation or threat will influence them. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte said yesterday that he spoke with Trump regarding the security situation in Greenland and the Arctic, and that he looks forward to seeing him in Davos later this week. Meanwhile, the 8 European nations on Trump's tariff list have sent a small military presence to Greenland, intended to bolster Arctic security as a shared transatlantic interest, saying the deployment poses no threat to anyone. The White House said last week that the deployment of European troops in Greenland has not changed President Trump's mind on acquiring the island. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
Prime Minister Keir Starmer today of Britain said that Britain is not planning to consider retaliatory tariffs. Starmer says although he feels President Trump's threat of tariffs over Greenland is completely wrong, a trade war is in no one's interest.
Firstly, I don't think it's right for us to choose between the US and Europe. And that's not a new position today, that's the position I've consistently held, as have previous governments, because we are allies with our European partners and allies with the US. And the strength in being able to keep both those alliances has served us well over the last 80 years.
Starmer said Britain supports the fundamental right of Greenland and Denmark to decide the future of the Arctic island. Germany said today that there will be a strong response to additional U.S. tariffs, adding that the European Union needed robust instruments to counter unfair trade practices. The country's foreign minister said Germany and France are in agreement. They will not allow themselves to be blackmailed. Sweden also responded. The country's finance minister said the EU should push back in response to Trump's tariff threat over Greenland. The minister said it was absurd that an American president would use tariffs as a threat in order to try to buy or take over Greenland. U.S. House Speaker Mike Johnson arrived in London today. He met with Britain's Speaker of the House of Commons, Lindsay Hoyle. Johnson is scheduled to address the British Parliament tomorrow as the U.S. marks its 250th anniversary of independence.
It's an important time for all of us, and I want to encourage our friends in common situations as much as I can. And talk about the things we have in common, this common heritage, this great alliance that we have, this special friendship and special relationship. And you said, like, let's make it a very special relationship. I like that. That's a good theme. I'm going to pick up on that. So, it's an important time for all of us.
The Iranian president said yesterday that any attack on the supreme leader would be equivalent to an all-out war against Iran. Iran also indicated it might go ahead with the execution of people detained. Here are the details.
Iran's president warned on Sunday that any U.S. strike would trigger a harsh response from Tehran after an Iranian official in the region said at least 5,000 people, including about 500 security personnel, had been killed in nationwide protests. Sparked last month in Tehran's Grand Bazaar over economic grievances, the protests swiftly turned political and spread nationwide. The protests drew participants from across generations and income groups calling for the end of clerical rule. Protests dwindled last week following a violent crackdown. President Donald Trump has repeatedly threatened to intervene if protesters continued to be killed on the streets or were executed. Trump said in an interview with Politico on Saturday, quote, "It's time to look for new leadership in Iran." Iran indicated on Sunday it might go ahead with the execution of people detained during the unrest, and with its clerical rulers facing mounting international pressure over the bloodiest unrest since the 1979 Islamic Revolution, is seeking to deter Trump from stepping in. Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian on X warned that Tehran's response, quote, "to any unjust aggression will be harsh and regrettable." He added that any attack on the country's supreme leader is, quote, "tantamount to an all-out war against the nation." The Iranian official told Reuters that the verified death toll was unlikely to increase sharply, adding that those taking to the streets had been supported and equipped by, quote, "Israel and armed groups abroad." The clerical establishment regularly blames unrest on foreign enemies. U.S.-based rights group HRANA said on Saturday the death toll has surpassed 3,300, with nearly 4,400 cases under review. The group said that more than 24,000 arrests had been confirmed.
More on the protests in Iran. Reporters say hackers disrupted Iranian state TV to air footage of the exiled Crown Prince, Reza Pahlavi.
The people of Iran are being slaughtered in the streets and in their homes.
The disruption targeted multiple channels of the Islamic Republic of Iran Broadcasting, which is a monopoly on Iranian TV. Hackers were able to air 2 clips of Pahlavi Sunday night. In these speeches, the exiled Iranian crown prince called on the Iranian military to lay down arms and stand with the people. Iranian state TV acknowledged that its signal was disrupted momentarily, and Pahlavi's office also confirmed the disruption, though further details were not provided. In recent video messages, Pahlavi also called on the international community to join the Iranian people in their fight for freedom. He added that he would return to Iran. The hacking came amid reports that the death toll of the recent Iranian protests has risen to nearly 4,000. World leaders head to Davos, Switzerland for high-stakes talks as AI investment fuels optimism, but geopolitical tensions darken the mood. More news after this break.
Is deep-sea fish oil really healthy? Due to pollution in the oceans, most fish contain heavy metal elements and radioactive substances. That's why it's so important to choose a pure source of omega-3. Puritan Green Vegetable Omega-3 is made from purslane and perilla seeds, which are rich in nutrients and minerals. It effectively improves brain power and is beneficial to the heart's health. Puritan Green Vegetable Omega-3. Eat 2 a day and you'll feel brand new.
What if kids in America didn't have to go to bed hungry tonight? What if our moms, dads, and grandparents could put healthy food on the table every day to help us grow strong? What if all of our friends and neighbors had fresh food too, and there was no hunger at all in America? And what if there was a way today for you to help? Call now or go online to helpfeedingamerica.org and give $19 a month, just 63 cents a day. So many of us don't have enough food to eat, but your monthly gift means families across the country and in your community can fill plates with food. Kids can get healthy meals year-round, even when school is out, and our neighbors can have fresh food. Food that moms, dads, entire families need to thrive. But right now, more people are facing hunger. Feeding America works from coast to coast with partner food banks, food pantries, and meal programs. It takes all of us to make that happen. Will you help too? Please call the number on your screen or go online to helpfeedingamerica.org and give just $19 a month, and we'll send you this free canvas grocery bag. It's our way of saying thank you for helping to end hunger for our neighbors. Because no kid, no mom or dad, nobody should go hungry in America. Nobody. So what if today was the day you could help nourish futures for our friends, our families, for all of us? Ending hunger is possible. What if we end it together? Call or give online today at helpfeedingamerica.org and your gift can be doubled. Thank you.
I need to sell my house. Now, there are a lot of places that claim to know how much it's worth, but they don't really know my house or my neighborhood, and they definitely don't show me all my options. That's where HomeLight comes in. I just answer a few questions and HomeLight gives me a side-by-side comparison of my options, personalized for my needs. And they'll show me what verified buyers will pay for my house right now. It's easy, and it's free. No matter how you choose to sell your home, selling starts at HomeLight. Get started today at homelight.com.
The annual World Economic Forum meeting opened in Davos with around 3,000 attending. Joining us to discuss is Daniel Lacaille, chief economist at Tressis Hedge Fund, international financial analyst, and author of the book Freedom or Equality. Daniel, good afternoon. Always good to see you. So give us your thoughts here. Good to see you. Your thoughts here on this year's meeting. Why do you think we're seeing such record turnout for it?
Well, I think that the Davos meeting this year is very, very important. There's a huge change in the world in terms of the view about what the governments should do relative to the economy. We have seen with the election of President Trump, but also in El Salvador, in Italy, in Argentina, how the old messages of interventionism, of inflationism, of constant government meddling, increasing the size of government in the economy, etc., have started to shift. And certainly there is a new debate. The World Economic Forum, unfortunately, in the past 10 years, has sided aggressively toward all of those policies that have increased interventionism, hyper-regulation, high taxes, and also central bank interventionism. So I think that it's very important that the Trump administration goes to the Davos meeting to advance with the ideas of freedom and with the ideas that bring back the prosperity of the economies coming from the private sector, not from the intervention of government. So I think it's going to be a very, very significant event that is going to create a lot of headlines.
Yeah, just adding to your point there, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said President Trump will speak about America first, as you alluded to, deregulation and economic growth. And Trump is reportedly leading one of the largest U.S. delegations to Davos ever. So just talk to us a little bit about Trump's role here. What do you think it is that's going to play at this year's Davos?
Role number one is to remind the world that the United States is going to be the only major economy of the G7 that is growing in 2025. A lot of the estimates of the experts of the World Economic Forum, Davos, etc., we're talking about recession. We're talking about high inflation in 2025. We're talking about a disaster for the U.S. economy. And what we have seen is the opposite. So the first role of President Trump is to remember and to remind everyone that when you put America first, when you put American citizens first, when you put businesses and the recovery of the private sector as the forefront of policy, that is positive not just for America, but for everybody else. He is also going to be discussing the very successful number of trade agreements that have been signed in 2025. At the same time, and I think that this is the crucial factor, this very substantial delegation is going to be addressing with global leaders, with banks, with companies, with different governments, the policies that need to be implemented in the future. And basically, I think that the Secretary of State of the Treasury, Scott Bessent, is going to be a very significant figure because he is going to be reminding people that you cannot create or engineer economic growth and development through high government spending and high taxes, that you need to go back to economic sanity and to supply side measures. I think that his role is going to be very significant.
Okay, so in addition to some of your concerns you talked about up to this point, the WEF has been widely criticized as well by free market thinkers and conservatives as being an advocate for woke ESG, right, and DEI policies. In addition to that, renewable energy investments, another thing that is part of all that, critical race theory as well. So do you think President Trump, against all of this, can he change the forum's future, its trajectory?
I think that he can, and that I think that he has started to do it. Remember the milestone keynote speeches of President Trump and President Milei in the Davos Forum, greeted with an incredible support from the audience. And I think that this is key, is that all those agendas, the DEI, the woke agenda, the interventionist measures, the degrowth agendas, the tax everywhere agendas, the things that we have heard in the World Economic Forum at Davos, people like me are outrageous in the past 10 years, to the extent that a lot of very important people and a lot of very influential analysts and investment bankers and businesses have stopped going to the World Economic Forum because it moved from being a healthy forum of debate to being a rhetoric and narrative-driven ideological ground. It was so crazy that when President Trump was elected, there was a discussion, there was a forum, one of those panels of discussion in which they said, and I quote, "President Trump has won, we have lost." Who on earth told them that we is them? That's the problem, is that so many businesses, so many banks, so many analysts were slowly surrendering to these agendas that have generated inflation, low growth, low productivity growth, low real wage growth, more taxes, generalized discontent all over the world. And I think that it's time to bring back sanity. It's time to bring back supply side measures. It's time to remind people that entrepreneurs are not the evil people, that businessmen are not, and businesswomen are not evil, that what they bring is, as President Milei said in Davos, what they bring is prosperity, and that we need to go back to defending free markets, capitalism, low taxes, and prudent fiscal policies instead of interventionism.
Okay, well said. I want to talk specifics now about some of the things happening at the World Economic Forum. So this year will be the debut of NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang. The future of AI will be a major point of conversation at the forum. Because it affects businesses, it affects work. Some concerned about it displacing jobs. What do you see the economic impacts of AI?
Well, I think that the fear-mongering narrative of AI is going to destroy jobs is a very easy tool of intervention, is to try to present politicians as the solutions to the challenges of productivity and job creation. AI does not destroy jobs. AI displaces some of the skills of citizens. All of that is improved by education, by more cooperation, by higher investment and more competition. AI is not going to be a negative effect for the economy. It's going to drive higher productivity growth. We have seen in countries that have a very significant implementation of AI in South Korea, for example, where unemployment is not only exceedingly low, but also exceedingly low in the so-called low-skilled jobs. So we should not fear artificial intelligence. As I always say, what we should fear is human stupidity.
Okay. Well, I just don't want, Skynet to become a real thing. That's a reference to a sci-fi movie.
I think that that is a great comment, because I think that Terminator, great movie, has, and like so many of James Cameron movies, they're incredibly good movies and entertaining, but they're certainly dreadful in terms of economics. If there was a scarce mineral below a tree where a lot of blue people lived, I guarantee you that that mineral would not be used in the industry at all. And the same thing with Skynet. There is no way in which artificial intelligence is going to end with humanity. It's the opposite. It needs us, and it cooperates with us. And all of us that, like you and I, that use artificial intelligence on a day-to-day basis know that it's not a substitute for human action.
Well, all right, Daniel, good to talk to you. As always, of course, thank you so much today.
Thank you very much. Always a pleasure.
A rare burst of winter weather bringing snow to parts of Florida for the second year in a row. Snow briefly fell across the western Florida panhandle early yesterday. It didn't last long, though. The flakes didn't stick to roads and quickly melted away. Last January, some of the same areas got up to 8 inches, the most snow in many places since the late 1800s. Yesterday's snowfall was part of a broader winter storm affecting much of the country. Further north, forecasters are warning of dangerously cold temperatures over the next few days. Across the northern plains, a strong Arctic blast is bringing sub-zero temperatures and frigid wind chills. And along the Great Lakes and northeast, heavy lake effect snow is expected through the week. Forecasters warn the strong winds sweeping in could be the coldest of the season. An extreme cold snap is expected to hit New York City this week. Forecasters say wind chill temperatures could drop below 0 degrees and the cold could last until the end of the month. Hundreds of flights were canceled across New York and New Jersey as snowstorms descended on the region yesterday. New York City has warned residents to be watchful for signs of hypothermia. The city's public health system warned that anyone experiencing symptoms of hypothermia should seek medical care immediately. Symptoms include shivering, increased heart rate, mental confusion, frostbite, or blisters on the fingers. Meanwhile, Italian fashion designer Valentino Garavani has died. He was 93 years old. Find out more about that after this break.
A performance that truly matters for each and every one of us. This is what you've been waiting for. See it at least once in your lifetime. Shen Yun. Get tickets now at shenyun.com.
You are not hidden. There's never been a moment you were forgotten. You are not hopeless. Though you have been broken, your innocence stolen. I hear your SOS, your SOS. I will send out an
On streets across America, young people are homeless, abused, in danger. Covenant House is helping young people with nowhere else to turn. But the need is overwhelming. Please call or go online now with your gift of $19 a month. You'll help provide hot meals, safe shelter, medical care, and love to more than 2,000 young people who sleep at a Covenant House every night. Homeless young people are afraid and alone. Your monthly donation right now will show them they are loved and safe.
I have no words to express how Covenant House changed my life.
Call or go online now and give just $19 a month. We'll send you this comforting blanket as a reminder of the difference you're making in a young person's life. Call or go online now to safeplacetosleep.org.
Kids love it. Parents trust it. Obviously. Explore GJW Plus Kids Series and Ganjiong Campus courses led by expert educators. This is spectacular. Children will learn values like respect, responsibility, and knowledge in language, science, and more. Wow. All while having fun. Perfect. Subscribe today at GJW Plus Kids, where learning meets fun.
A high-speed train in southern Spain derailed last night and collided with another train. At least 39 people were killed and more than 150 were injured. The mayor of Ademuz, Spain, reacted to the incident. Listen.
The scene was horrific. It was terrible. People asking and begging for help. Those leaving the wreckage are images that will always stay in my mind.
The derailment happened when the tail end of a train carrying 289 passengers went off the rails. Emergency service workers were trying to access the interior of the train amid the wreckage. Officials said the death toll is likely to rise. The Prime Minister of Spain called the accident a painful day for his country.
We will uncover the truth. We will find out the answers. And when we know the origin and cause of this tragedy, as we must, we will inform the public via the media with absolute transparency and clarity.
Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez canceled a planned trip to the World Economic Forum in Davos as he visited the crash site. He declared 3 days of national mourning starting at midnight. The accident is the deadliest in Spain in over 10 years. A crash in 2023 killed 80 people after a commuter train derailed as it came around a bend. British politicians and hundreds of protesters gathered to oppose the China proposed mega embassy in London. This would give China its biggest embassy in Europe, but protesters worry about transnational repression and the risk to national security given the site's proximity to sensitive financial databases. NTD's Malcolm Hudson has more for us from London.
Hundreds of people gather in protest outside Royal Mint Court, the proposed site of a new Chinese mega embassy in London. Now, people are here for two reasons. The first being that last week it was revealed that the Chinese plan to expand basement rooms at this site close to highly sensitive fibre optic cables connecting London's two financial centres. And the second reason being that the Prime Minister Keir Starmer plans to go to China in the coming days, and so we're expecting the decision of whether this embassy will go ahead or not. Protesters held flags and banners chanting "No Mega Embassy." Conservative Party leader Kemi Badenoch called for the British government to stop the proposed mega embassy amid serious concerns about China.
Whether it's spying, disrupting a lot of our services, issues with trade, the harassment of British nationals with connections to China, the harassment of the people of Hong Kong. There is so much that we're concerned about.
The Telegraph newspaper reported that the plans for the site, located near the touristic Tower of London, include 208 secret rooms and a hidden chamber. Critics fear the secret basement rooms could be used to detain dissidents who have fled from the Chinese regime. Hong Kong activist Chloe Chung is based in London and has a $1 million Hong Kong dollar bounty on her head. That's around $130,000. She says she fears for her safety.
Giving China the biggest embassy in Europe is kind of saying that, okay, you can do whatever you want in this country, you can harass people here, you can sanction our MP, we don't care, and we're going to give you this embassy. That is the wrong signal to send to the Chinese Communist Party.
Royal Mint Court is also between the financial hubs, the City of London and Canary Wharf. The proposed hidden chamber would be located in close proximity to data cables said to be crucial for financial sector communications. Human rights activist Benedict Rogers said this is deeply concerning.
You can't imagine it's a coincidence that the Chinese apparently are building these rooms right above these cables. It's been reported that they're going to tear down a wall that separates the rooms from the cables, presumably so that they can hack into them. And that seems to me an extremely dangerous situation.
The decision on whether to approve the Chinese embassy plans has been repeatedly pushed back by the government. Ministers have promised to make a decision by January 20th, ahead of Starmer's expected visit to China. Last November, prominent US lawmakers wrote to the British Foreign Secretary urging the UK to deny approval. They said the close proximity to critical communication cables could jeopardize intelligence sharing between the UK, the United States, and other Five Eyes partners. Malcolm Hudson, NTD News, London.
Japan's Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi is calling a national election next month. She is rallying voter support for increased spending and a new strategy to accelerate defense buildup. Here's that story.
Japan's Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi said she will call a national election on February the 8th. She wants voter support for higher spending, tax cuts and a new security strategy expected to accelerate Japan's defense build-up.
I stake my position as Prime Minister on this decision. I ask the people of Japan to directly judge whether they can entrust the governance of the nation to Sanae Takaichi.
Takaichi promised a 2-year halt to an 8% consumption tax on food and said her spending plans would create jobs, as well as boost household spending and increase other tax revenues. Government figures show a possible consumption tax would reduce government revenue by an estimated $32 billion a year. That sent the yield on Japan's 10-year government bonds to a 27-year high earlier on Monday. The snap vote will mark Takaichi's first electoral test since becoming Japan's first female premier in October. Calling an early election allows her to capitalize on strong public support and tighten her grip on the ruling Liberal Democratic Party and shore up her coalition's fragile majority. The election will test voter appetite for higher spending at a time when the rising cost of living is the public's top concern.
Italian fashion designer Valentino Garavani has died. Known by his first name, royals and celebrities often turn to Valentino's designs for galas, film festivals, and other large events. Valentino's fashion career spanned nearly half a century, from the 1960s to his retirement in 2008. In 2001, Julia Roberts wore one of his gowns to the Academy Awards, where she won Best Actress for her role in Erin Brockovich. Valentino was also behind the dress Jacqueline Kennedy wore for her second wedding, 5 years after her first husband and President John F. Kennedy was assassinated. The designer was close to Princess Diana as well, who often wore his gowns. Valentino's foundation said his body will lie in repose at the foundation's headquarters in Rome on Wednesday and Thursday. His funeral will be held Friday. He was 93 years old. A hat maker in southern Spain is setting his creations ablaze. He's become an online sensation, turning his accessories into fire shows. NTD's Andrew Thomas has more on the flare.
Alejandro Mateo is working on a new hat, but he has an unusual process. He lights his creations on fire.
Initially, this was never meant to be a business or a way of life. It just happened by accident.
The 42-year-old from Andalusia never intended for this to be his full-time job, but videos he posted brought in a ton of business.
There was a couple of videos that they got very viral in social media. That was the moment that, like celebrities start contacting me and, getting many orders.
Mateo says he sells 20 to 25 hats in a good month, mostly to the United States. Each is handmade using steam, a brim cutter, and fire. He was never an apprentice, teaching himself from the beginning.
It's funny because back in the days when I started, it was very difficult to get the information, even to get the tools. It was like mission impossible.
Mateo describes how he got his start, even making some of his own tools.
You will have to go to like these shops that they sell like antique stuff, because you couldn't find the hat blocks or the brim cutter, like all the elements.
Mateo says he's sometimes approached by people interested in learning his craft. He's happy to help, though says the process is more of an art than a science.
It's funny because I teach my method, the method that I learned by myself, which I don't know if it's like the right way, but it works for me. That's it. It's Alejandro Mateo's method of working.
Mateo says each hat has a name and a unique story underneath the brim, and fire gives his works a little flair. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
A precious stone said to be the largest of its kind was unveiled over the weekend, and now the owners are ready to sell. It's a purple star sapphire weighing over 3,500 carats. The gem has been dubbed the Star of Pure Land, and one gemologist says it's the largest of its kind.
Specialty about this gemstone is its purple color, and it's to date the recorded largest purple star sapphire. We can guarantee it's the largest purple star sapphire to date.
The gem is owned by a group called the Star of Pure Land Team, who want to remain anonymous for security reasons. The owners say the stone was found in a gem pit near a remote town in Sri Lanka known as the City of Gems. It was purchased together with other gems in 2023, and about 2 years later, the owners found that it was a very special stone. They then got it certified by 2 laboratories. The stone's value has been estimated at $300 to $400 million by international values. Sri Lankan sapphires are renowned for their unique color, clarity, and shimmer. And after the break, we speak to the publisher of the Persian edition of our sister media, the Epoch Times, on how the Chinese regime is supporting the Islamic Republic's crackdown on the Iranian people. Don't go away.
I'm Amy Grant, and I want to talk to you from my heart about the heart. I would have been the last person on the list to say this woman has a problem with her heart. So no, there was nothing about my life that said, you have a ticking time bomb in your chest. But I did. I wound up in the office of a cardiologist because I was there with my husband. And at the tail end of that, the cardiologist looked at me and said, I want to see you. No one was more surprised than I was to learn I was living with a rare heart condition. He said, Amy, this condition, you'll be fine, 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 and then catastrophic. A few months later, I had open heart surgery that saved my life. And I owe it to the research and life-saving medical breakthroughs developed by the American Heart Association. That's why I'm asking you to join me and become a monthly donor to the American Heart Association. Please call now or go to helpheart.org. For only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you can help fund the next medical breakthrough, get the next person trained in CPR, and get the next hospital certified in high-quality cardiovascular care. If this could happen to me, it could happen to anybody. Heart disease is America's #1 killer, but your support can save your life or the life of someone you love. Give $19 a month with your credit card, and we'll send you this special t-shirt you can wear to show you're part of a community of monthly donors working to help save more lives like mine. I'm grateful for the American Heart Association. Their research gave me more time to do the things I love with the people I love. So listen to your heart. I'm here today because I did. Call the number on your screen or go to helpheart.org now to become a monthly donor. Give this holiday season and your first month's gift will be matched. Thank you.
My mom and dad were traditional Asian parents. Now my father would go to work before I woke up in the morning, and then he would come home too tired to play with me. I tell my son, I love you every single day. Now my dad has never said that to me. Not because he doesn't love me, but because culturally it wasn't comfortable for him. So I teased him the other day and I said, "How come you never say that to me?" And he said, "You're too old now." Now that he's a grandfather, he says, "I love you" to my son every time he sees him.